everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, we're going to talk about gear, presets, equipment plans, and those super intimidating timings. Okay, so they've made this a lot better. Vortex, as I'm showing right now, is a perfect 20-second interval. It used to be messy, so setting up your timings is easier than it was in the beginning. So if you tried setting up your skill timings and it didn't seem to sync up and you didn't know what was happening, well, don't worry, it probably wasn't your fault. It was probably the game at the time. But yeah, for this video, I want to give advice regarding equipment plans. As we see here, the equipment like setup for the special presets for every area that we could make teams for. I kind of want to play around with all of that and give my best advice for doing so efficiently. So first of all of this now, this is the good part. So before the big update where you could actually just do a whole plan of a team, including the equipment, which is amazing, I had to do this. I had to make plans for everyone for Vortex, for everyone for Goblins, so I'd have easy, quick ways to go farm the things that I do every day. And now I don't need this. I feel like this idea of an equipment plan is no longer as needed. I would say the exception to the rule might be if you have a specific character that you are swapping gear around, maybe in other content, like Acilia, Garion, and I think there's one more that I share, like enlightenment gear with HP stats, for example. So like multiple people might get this set if I wanted to use them in other content besides the obvious ones where we can bring in our presets. Or like I have a Drist DPS build, which I want to make a Drist heal DPS build with like the troll set as well. The stun set build. I might make a Drist tank build as well. So I'm kind of having fun with that. Like that kind of stuff is still good. And it's still really easy to do your equipment setups. But overall, I just don't think this is as needed. But I do want to show you guys in case, in case you're kind of in that state of still using this and making sure you do it correctly. So pretty much, if you're coming in and you just made a new set of gear for your character, I wish I had someone that's a better example, honestly, you know what, she's a good example, like I said, Acilia, because I use her. Maybe this Urion build is my new favorite build for Urion. I don't know. Whatever your example might be. So many of my people don't have full gear now because, well, you guys know how it goes with our new presets that you're probably seeing us all use, which is why you're here. So, all right, let's say this is an Irma Brotherhood set. I want to save it. So if you have a set of gear already on people and you go to plan, you would go down to here and hit the plus sign, and then it would have it there. You could see your plan up there, and you'd hit save. And this is going to be where you name the plan, and yeah. If you have a set that you already have here that you want to edit, you could swap in the pieces of the gear that you want to change, and then you could save it as well. If you realize, oh wait, I know that if you're looking at your plans and you realize there's something like, oh, I changed out that chest, let me quick just change that in my plans, you can do that. You don't have to be on the character. So that's really nice. But let's say you're working, the Urion builds. This is the new build I want for Urion, not his old build. You could say overwrite, and it will overwrite the plan as you have named on your sheet. So that's kind of the basics. But this original plan saving of gear planning is only your 4 pieces of gear. It doesn't include runes and it doesn't include artifacts. But that's the simple version, which can still come in handy, although I don't think is really needed anymore. And I can delete all of these extra ones like for Vortex and Goblin because we have a much better solution. So let's again first talk about the gear situation here. So this is it, right? This is like, okay, you come into Vortex, you come into anything, any area of the game, and you're like, all right, I want to use my team, right? But let me show you this in a way. Okay, let's say I remove this because let's say I use that eyeball on someone else and now I came into my vortex to do my run. You're going to see this little equipment with an exclamation point over here on the right side if you've already saved it. And you're going to want to load in your team. Now that's the funny part is this is a really, really confusing thing. Once you've already saved a preset, if you come into something that has a preset, you're going to want to hit load to load in what you have saved. But let's say I go and be like, you know what? I think I have a better rune finally. Let's get a legendary rune on her that's going to do it again. And that's where you would hit, instead of load, you'd hit save to overwrite what was currently there. But let's say we need to set this up in the first place, right? So over here, this little flag guy here, you would pretty much just be on the plus sign to save your build. Simple as that. If you're working with a new team that you really like, I would say try to get the gear on them first. That way you don't have to worry about save, load, whatever. Get the gear you want on this team that you want to perfect and save. Hit save. That's all you're gonna have to do. What the plus sign is, it will let you save, but I'm full, so it doesn't let me save anymore. And then you'll have your preset. So now, like if I want to come in, I could come into Vortex and I would use this. Like let's say if I wanted to switch to a different team, let's just pretend to switch to this team. You could check the box to say yes, bring in the equipment plan as well, and hit use. Current team deployed. All right, it's deployed. You might have to rearrange them, right? Of course, this didn't have full equipment, so it's wondering what it wants. But here, let's say, okay, oops, I'm going to Vortex. Let's use my Vortex team. Boom. It remembers everything, which is really, really nice. So this is the equipment plan here. You can always click to see what your equipment plan is. Simple enough. And if you want to load in what's currently, or what the plan has, that's how you're going to do that. Or if you changed pieces, you would hit save. Same thing with load and save shows up with the little exclamation point, but you also can see that here as well. But this is a fun way to kind of get an overview of what you have on your characters, especially if you want to show someone what you're using for sets and artifacts. You can do a screenshot of this. It makes it really handy. But keep in mind, let's say you want to change it. Let's say edit lineup. I'm done using Refe, aka Foley. I'm finally going to bring in Erich. He sucked without books, but now I have books on him. Now that's how you would save and then bring in. But it's not going to remember if you swap out your people. You have to go here and edit the lineup first. So let's back to edit. I guess I don't want to do that. Let's just not save. Quit. So you have to hit edit lineup if you're replacing people in your saved team. That's how that works, right? So simple enough. It's a simple matter of just hitting save when you get started, and then everything's there. It just is. And if you're not sure, you can double click, hit this, and make sure all your gear is there. And again, if you want to tweak something, you could go to upgrade. You could tweak them. You could come back. And if there's a little exclamation point there, you just hit boom, and then you hit save, and it will overwrite what you had before. So it makes it really easy to update your heroes, to update your team builds, the gear. Everything is so much easier to upgrade now. The only thing I've noticed is they don't seem to remember the auras. So that's an important note. If you save a team for Vortex, like it's just remembering the team. It's not remembering what you chose for what battle. So like it defaults to my resistance one all the time, but you have to make sure you remember to change it to that. I think it might, if you don't swap things out and come back in, it's going to remember that I had attack last time I did this battle overall, I think, as long as I didn't change anything. But when you're going from different location to different location using the same teams, you have to make sure you always change your aura, which you hit by clicking this button. Now, the most complicated thing is definitely the timings, right? So, timings. So the good thing is behind me here, there's a view boss information, right? View boss information. So this 5555. Oh, that should be 20. And now it is. It is a perfect 20-second rotation that the boss has. You're going to notice that this is for Vortex. You're going to notice in most other areas like the dungeons and the continental challenges, aka the same bosses as Chaos Shadows. Those are only 18-second rotations. So you're gonna have to, if you want to put something in perfect sync for that, you really have to add skill haste to your build or use artifacts like the Incense Burner or the Legendary Hourglass, which gives you 100 skill haste, for example, to have more flexibility to do so. Otherwise, your ultimates are not going to be fast enough for 90% of characters. I don't think anyone has like that fast by natural. Like right now, so like my Furboth is only is 19.23, which is fine for Vortex. But when I used him in the Chaos Shadows and Otherworld Exploration, I have a slightly different build on my team for that one with him because I want him to have a perfect rotation of 18 seconds to, or less. Well, I want, yeah, a perfect 18 seconds or less so I could keep him in rotation of the boss's skills and then let him go a little bit early so he's like popping his ultimate before the boss does their ultimate, right? That's kind of the idea with the basic setup is like your ultimate. So first you're going to be looking at the initial recharge time. That is the first line. Initial charge time is the first line. And then the second one is their interval, which is kind of what you can see here. So you can compare your first and second to this first and second timing. And having everything in perfect sync is an easy 20 seconds for Vortex and 18 seconds for most other bosses. So that's how the intervals work. First time casting is going to set you up for success, though. I feel like this is where, like, if you can do the interval, like in Vortex, it's very easy, 20 seconds, as long as you have people booked. But keep in mind, that's why I'm not using Erich instead of Fully right now, because I don't have all my books on Erich yet. I need a couple more to get his timing low enough, because otherwise, I can't put him in perfect sync with my other heroes. So for me personally, I'm going to explain my setup for Vortex and why I'm doing it with the timings. So first of all, you can see my very first person to go is Ogak at 14.5 seconds. So the reason I have that is 5, 10, 15. So Ogak is going to put up his invisibility skill. Is it always going to... Yeah, immortality. I always want to say invincibility, immortality. Almost the same thing, kind of. Not really. He is going to put that up. And with Ogak's kit, he heals after the invisibility or immortality buff wears off. He heals. And when he heals, he dispels a debuff. So if I pop right before the third skill, I pop the immortality. So we're protected for this smash from the boss. Then after that smash happens, Ogak is going to then heal and cleanse off this defense penalty debuff. So that's really important to note as well. The way his kit works, it times perfectly. And then we're going to go with the boss's other ultimate. So by the time this ultimate goes, Ogak would have cleansed off the defense penalty debuff, which makes us take a lot more damage. So that's kind of how I have him set. And I have both of these skills covered. This is what you want to do. Ideally, you want to make sure attack penalty is covered for multiple skills. So you want to make sure you have ideally like one person with it on a battle skill that can make sure it's always going like before the ultimate, and then someone else on a someone using it on a ultimate so it can always go before the ultimate. If you have someone else with it on a battle skill, that's fine. It'll help fill the gaps for the extra smashes. But I really like this kind of a setup. It really helps to easily have a natural flow of events. Okay, boss does big smash. Prevent damage from the big smash. You just gotta find your person for that role. That could be putting up a shield. It could be, a fancy unkillable type buff. It could be just making sure you have attack penalty. And then you got to make sure you have attack penalty. Most of these, it's only 5 seconds in between, so you should be fine. But having attack penalty before the big smash here is a big deal as well. But if you don't have like an Ogak that cleanses perfectly with this timing, based on his other skill, if you need to get rid of this defense penalty debuff, hopefully you can do that with someone in between these two skills. So you might be like 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so let's... the boss is might take a second to do his skill. So maybe at 18 seconds, I cleanse the debuff. That's what you're going to want to set for the skills. So that's your initial start, would be like 18 seconds for my cleanser to make sure they're getting rid of the defense penalty debuff. So Furboth for me goes next, right? At 19.5, right before, again, the boss's ultimate. Like I said, I have both covered. So we have one covered with Ogak, one covered with Furboth. And the way that I have that covered is attack penalty. Attack penalty is huge for boss's damage mitigation, and that's why I time it before the ultimate. So here, Furboth is going to go and put up that skill. The other thing that's really good about my Furboth in particular is we decided to build him. Let's see. With 3 ears, Brotherhood Spirit, after the wearer unleashes their ultimate, all allies gain a 15% extra attack for 10 seconds. So this is something to consider as well if you're trying to do your timings. If you have, which you should, have this set on someone who can provide support, someone who needs accuracy as well. Have this set on someone to boost the attack of your other damage dealers. You want that person to go first, right? So that way, by the time Flora and Foley and Tunnelnon pop their ultimates, they have an attack buff on them. That's part of my timings here too. So with that in mind, usually if you had someone like Furboth that has that increased attack buff that they put on everybody when they use their skill, thanks to that set, next you would probably want the person who was wearing, I guess I should go back here, whoever's wearing Witch's Remains or the Crown of Unclean to put up the defense penalty buff. But in my case, Flora has a special ultimate where it's much more worth it to have Flora go first, then the other damage dealers after her to proc wild, after she's procced her ultimate. So for me, Flora is my first DPS to go in my timing, as you can see here. And I want it, so she's at 20 seconds, and I wanted to put her after Furboth, so she is going after she has the attack increase of a buff, right? That's the good thing about that here. And now let me go back to that really quick. So after the wearer unleashes their ultimate, just to be clear, it has to be their ultimate, right? Okay. So here, Flora is going to go, and she puts up this special vortex where every time there's a wild proc from the allies, it does extra derivative damage, which is why you build Flora with Enlightenment and then attack as well. And the Ink Vial is perfect for her if you don't have her exclusive artifact. So for me, Flora goes, and then Tanonan goes, and then Foley goes. And I purposefully have them not instantly, like a 0.1 second, because sometimes they have little delays in actually landing stuff. Or like for Tanonan hits 5 times with the ultimate, which is why I have her in Witch's Remains or Crown of Unclean, because it's going to give us the best chance to land the defense penalty debuff before the other damage dealers go and can help pump out more damage. And when you do use Witch's Remains or Crown of Unclean, you do need accuracy to land the debuff as well. So it does hurt Tanonan's damage overall, but honestly, everything about this team is enabling Flora to do the most damage possible because of the way her ultimate works. So Flora's going to go, Tanonan's going to go and also put down defense penalty, and then Foley's going to go and just pop a bunch more damage as well. And she hits 3 times with her ultimate. And then the cycle is going to continue in perfect rotation because of the skill interval at 20. So let me go ahead into another boss so we can see kind of what I mean about the timings being a little bit wonky. So I guess who's my best example? Let's head on into, I don't know. Let's just go to Grave of Venom, right? Or yeah, let's go to Grave of Venom. Grave of Venom is easy. I don't think I have any timing set, but I can still show you for sake of argument. So Grave of Venom 9. Okay, boom, let's go. So I actually used my Vortex team there, which is funny. But see, it knows I have timing. So I'm coming into I'm coming into Grave of Venom 9. We got the exclamation point. We want to load the particular gear that I have for this. Load. Now let's go take a look at my presets. So when I go to skill timings, here we go. This was on a funky timing to get... Why is it at 11.8? I guess I was trying to... Oh, because it always messes it up. I was trying to make sure that she was going after her, after Tanonan, so that's fine. So Flora's going to go at 11. Tanonan's going to go at 11.7. And she's going to go to 11.8. You know what? Let's just make that a little bit better and put that at 12. Because Tanonan hits 5 times. You got to hit first and land the defense penalty. So I still pulled in the same rotation of DPS here in my other battle. But it's not 20 seconds. So, oh, actually, that's not good. It's not 20 seconds. Why is it on a 20-second rotation? Oh, just to keep everything in general, keep them synced. Okay, because their recharge times are 19, 20. 20 is the highest recharge time. So if I want them to stay in perfect sync as far as attacking in the same order, they have to have the same interval. So even though, unfortunately, this boss is not a 20-second rotation like Vortex, if I want to keep my girls attacking in the same order, they have to be on the same interval to continue out what they do from the start. So that can be a strategy as well. Like, this is not a perfectly tuned team for Venom. I'm not putting things at the exact moments. Like I said, if I wanted Furboth to be able to land something at a very specific time, he'd have to be able to, you know, do that. But this is a weird one. This is, you know, this is 6 seconds, 6 seconds. It's a little bit different, but it ends up being pretty easy. Luckily, one of the fun things with like something like Grave of Venom is you can get away with using like your Vortex team, maybe with one substitution or something, or slightly different timings, like I did here. I wanted the girls to go as soon as possible to start pumping out their damage, but I want them to stay in sync, so I put timings. But yeah, you can't really time this. I can't time Furboth to perfectly go every time here. Although I guess you could do it every other time, but that doesn't sound ideal. That does not sound ideal at all, but this is 12 seconds, so you're not going to have skill haste down to 12 seconds for perfect timing, but you can get away with perfect timings with the other bosses, like in Otherworld Exploration. Those bosses, like I said, have 18 seconds. You're just going to need to add more skill haste to your character in order to get there, but not everything has to be perfect timing to be successful, but sometimes you can line up your DPS to go in a logical manner, at least like the way I did for Venom, in order to get better damage output or more consistent damage, for example. But alright guys, that's kind of been my discussion regarding using presets in your gear. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below, and I'll see you in the next video, or live on Twitch, which I might be very soon.